Every rugby fan likes to get behind Fiji, and at the Rugby World Cup 2023, the Flying Fijians gave us plenty to cheer about, reaching the quarterfinals for the first time in 15 years. And the man to get them there? Simon Raiwalui, who only joined as head coach a few months before the tournament began. Who is the man behind the magic, and what is on his bucket list now as he embarks on a new adventure for World Rugby? Let's find out. Hey Simon, firstly, mate, congratulations on everything you guys achieved with Fiji at the World Cup. My first question is, am I allowed in Fiji or what?
Hey mate, it's all forgiven. I think we had the back and forth on Twitter and talked to my wife, and she said, pull my head in, so we're good.
Nice. No. Well, you did offer your spare room. Is that still available?
It's still available.
Okay, nice. Well, on the World Cup, I mean, you guys made it to the quarterfinals, first time in 15 years. A great achievement. And what's the response been like back home in Fiji to that performance?
Yeah, I think it was pretty overwhelming. During the whole World Cup, really, we had great support in France. I think we were everyone's, if they were not the favourite team, we were everyone's second favourite team. And the support in Fiji, if you've been to Fiji, it's a passion there. It's everyone is part of the journey, and they really jumped on board, and it was amazing. Obviously, coming back home to the supporters at the airport was great as well.
Yeah, what was that homecoming like, and what sort of an impact can it have on a country like Fiji?
Well, it's huge. Obviously the sevens is huge, and we're trying to get the 15s into that same space. But it's every man and woman now is into the rugby, and they want to play the sport. The game's growing at a huge rate in both the men and women's codes. So it's a huge opportunity for younger players coming through to come forward, play with the Drew, look for opportunities overseas. So yeah, we've got great support.
All right, let's talk about you. So as a young player, you left Australia to Manchester to play for the Sales Sharks. What was that move like, and what was it like playing for the Sales Sharks in the 90s?
It was different. Obviously going from the Gold Coast to Manchester, different climate.
Different climate for sure.
Obviously went over thinking that I was getting a lot of money, but the cost of living in Manchester was expensive. But it was a great opportunity. It was a launching pad for me to get into Europe, prove myself, and get a career in rugby, which is always what I wanted to do. It was, at the time we had some good locks in Australia, and that was the path we chose to go, and so really enjoyed it. Was in Europe for 21 years. So
yeah, I mean, you spent over a decade in England and Wales before moving to France for Racing Metro. Is there any players that you played with during that playing career of yours that you still catch up with when you get to go away and tour in Europe and UK?
Yeah, I still catch up with a few guys like Shane Howarth. He's living in New Zealand as well. The boys in Paris, catch up with them. Some of them are still playing. That's how old I was. But a lot of more so the French contingent. Obviously, the Stade Francais when I was coaching there, racing down at Bruges. So I still got some good friends over there.
Now, as a player, you represented Fiji 39 times. You captained the team as well. Was it always an ambition of yours to go back and to be the head coach at one point?
Yeah, I think I thought about it. I was more interested in the pathways, the high performance stuff, so that's why I got into that role. By chance, the coaching role popped up at the beginning of this year, and I didn't apply for it to start off with, and then got asked to apply, and the rest is history.
Very good. So in October 2021, you were appointed the scrum coach of the newly formed Fijian and Drua. Then you went across to be the head coach of Fiji. How did you manage that transition from being an assistant coach to being the head coach?
Yeah, well, I'd always been an assistant coach. So when I was in France, I was assistant coach. When the role came up, it was a bit daunting going into that head coaching role, because you never know what's in front of you. But I had certain values that I had in terms of what I expect as a person and how I interact with the players. So I thought I could get that across as a head coach, and just tried to be as genuine as possible, and treat everyone right, and hopefully get the results.
As a head coach, I mean, obviously there's so much flair and freedom in the way that the Fijians play, but also to kind of balance that I guess some structure in crucial moments. How did you find that to get that balance?
I think what we really wanted to concentrate on the things where teams were going to attack us at the World Cup, and they were set piece, discipline, fitness. So our focus was around brutality and bringing bring a bit of the old school back to what we've always been: physical as a team, physical as players, but it was getting that structure and being able to do it consistently throughout a match. And I think what really helped us was being able to compete at that level with those teams. And I think most teams we played against would say that we were quite a physical, brutal team.
Yeah, so, I'd say so.
Yeah.
What was your highlight at the Rugby World Cup?
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Beating the Wallabies.
You can say it. You can say it.
No, obviously I hold Australian rugby pretty dear to the heart.
Yeah, of course.
Come through that system, but obviously at that big stage, we really came into the World Cup knowing that we had a tough start with Wales and with the Wallabies, so we really targeted those two games, and unfortunate not to get the win against Wales, but really proud to get that win against the Wallabies.
And what about, I mean, there's a fair bit of adversity for you guys throughout that course of the World Cup, with a few players having to deal with some personal issues away from the game. But, how do you manage that side of things as well? Because, obviously there's the rugby element, but also the human element, and your guys were going through a little bit through that period. Yeah,
well, I think with Fijis, the biggest thing for us is religion, family, that faith. And they're a very strong unit, and so we really worked on our culture through that from the beginning of the World Cup campaign, and wanted to really build that as part of our identity. And I think what happened during the World Cup is they took ownership of that, and then when the tough times come, as they do in long campaigns like that, they really banded together, and the group was really, really strong in that part. What
was the biggest surprise or the biggest insight that you gained throughout that Rugby World Cup campaign?
I think it was the length of the campaign, just being used to playing in a 15, 16 week competition, being able to maintain intensity, maintain that level of ownership within the players. So we weren't like other teams that could have their families with them. Being a very family oriented team, I think our players really missed that, so we had to try and create certain things that were important for us. But that was probably the biggest thing for us.
But how did you manage that? How did you gauge what the boys needed, and how did you give them what they needed? Because there's some great content coming out from within your camp about how together you were, but how did you manage that?
So I think we tried to build that right from the beginning. So we went away to Taviuni. We stayed in pretty humble abodes in a big hall, a village hall. Slept on the floor, ate pretty humbly, went out to the villages, meet people. So the biggest thing for us was reconnecting with who we are, who we're playing for, and where we're from. So once we had built that, the team, Fiji has come together quite easily through church, through the family. If they don't have their families there, they adopt each other.
Yeah.
And it was pretty organic. So by the time we knew we were in the campaign, we could tell that they were pretty comfortable with the group, and they really created that themselves.
And what about the impact of the Fijian and Drua side in the Super Rugby? Having that experience in that competition, and then the amount of players that you picked from Drua to the World Cup squad. I mean, what sort of an impact has that had on
Fiji massive, it's massive for Fiji Rugby. I think the biggest thing is going to be probably not this World Cup. It's a big impact this World Cup, but it's going to be 27, 31. You've seen the impact after 2 years. We've got a pathway now between under 20s, under 23s up to seniors, where we didn't have that before. Players are having to go offshore. Now we've got 40 opportunities for players and staff to actually stay on island, earn a living, and develop together. So it's really good, and I really think you're going to see the benefits in probably the next couple of World Cups.
So you've got a new role now. What's the vision for the future, and what do you want to achieve with your new role?
Well, I'm not working for one union anymore, so so obviously looking after that player development and pathways. Responsible for the franchises as well. So it's really interesting getting into the other unions and seeing how that works.
Okay, I've got one here a bit deeper, but what's your why?
My why is I've loved rugby from when I was a kid. It's I came from pretty humble beginnings. We didn't have my single mum that worked a lot of jobs to provide for me and my brother and sister, and it was rugby gave me an opportunity to go overseas, to earn a living, to have my family, be able to raise them in a certain way that I've been able to spend time with them. So I love rugby not just for the sport, but for what it's provided me over my career, and I'll be very, very grateful to it.
Well, mate, thanks so much for your time today. Congratulations on everything that you did with Fiji Rugby, but also all the best for your new role in World Rugby.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Greatly appreciate it.